Good evening, Professor Coiler. Just finishing up Mod 8, the end of class with carbon footprint and sustainable living. I appreciated everything that the course offered me and my reflection on our carbon footprint. And so while we will not be a zero waste family, we are certainly working to eliminating some of our bad habits and turning them into good habits. So tonight I'm going to be talking about our carbon footprint, our consumption habits, reducing our carbon footprint, and the reflection in the way ahead. So this week we looked at our carbon footprint, what our daily habits are, decisions we make that contribute good or bad to the environment, and how we can improve our habits to live a healthier lifestyle, both for ourselves and for Mother Earth. So I took this questionnaire in Bio 121 course at the beginning of Module 1, and my results sadly were at 4.2 Earths based on my habits at the time that I took the test. I'm happy to see that my Earths are down to 3.4 as it shows that I've made strides to do better and be more aware and alert as I examine what we as a family are doing, but it's still not a great number of Earths. I would like to see that reduced yet down to 2 Earths if possible. Looking at the results here, I am saddened by the fact that my carbon footprint is over 50% of my output. However, my results line up to match Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as my highest level of consumption is food, with shelter being my second highest. This chart explains it well to tell me that I have my work cut out for me, keeping in mind that it is already a reduction from where I came from 8 weeks ago. So I won't go through every single detail of what my days looked like. You'll be able to see this when you review the PowerPoint presentation. However, the trash that my family produces is simply said a lot. However, I'm happy to report that we took our 5 30-gallon size trash bags in a 7-day period down to 2 to 3. Because we're starting to recycle, we're starting to put forth a little bit more effort in that regard. So I'm happy to report that our trash is a little bit less than it has been. Our transportation is also less because of COVID. We're still working from home, and we're at school. We're at home homeschooling, and so this just means that we're not on the road as much as we used to be. However, we are still on the road. I do travel to work. To and from work is 17 miles each way. On the way to work, it's 28 miles. On the way home, it's 40 just due to traffic. I took the kids to Dairy Queen. I went to the grocery store, went and got gas, and all of this is noted, but it's not what it used to be. However, as things open back up, I know that we'll be out and about a little bit more than we are right now. So it's just stuff for us to take into consideration as we look at our transportation. For food, our food intake is our number one carbon producer. And I do recognize that because it's the containers that we're using from the food that we're eating. Some of it, the majority of it, cannot be recycled. So it's something we need to work on as a family as we're shopping, looking at the containers. Are the containers recyclable? Are they not? Do we really need it? Do we not need it? Just things that we need to work on as a family. The energy output was, we have a really bad habit of leaving lights on. My son, even though I say it 100 times, turn the lights off when you leave a room, they don't. We have Alexa, and Alexa turns lights on and off for us. They still don't use that. So stuff that we have to work on. Some of our biggest consumptions, though, in regards to energy is our porch lights. Those are on approximately 13 hours, 12 to 13 hours from evening to morning. And so those are left on a lot longer than any other light in our house. So we may need to relook at that as we move forward. And then water, together we do a good job to be careful on wasting water. In our household, I've made it very clear, I've educated my kids on making sure that they're minimizing their waste. We don't have any leaks, but I think our biggest water consumption is really in the summer when we have our sprinkler systems on. Right now we don't have them on. Our water bill is very low. Our water consumption is very low. But in the summer when we're watering our lawn, I need to look at that a little bit better. We're going to maybe get a rain barrel and use that rain barrel to help water our lawn. Right now we have 5 zones. We run each zone at 15 minutes. That's a lot of time for the water to be running. And it would be different if we had potable water, but we don't. So I liked this. This came with the PowerPoint presentation, but I thought it was very fitting for the discussion, the topic that we're on. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And that's exactly what I'm doing with my family, right? Stop talking about what we can do and start doing it by eliminating items that we may not need and picking up trash where we see trash, etc. So I thought this was very fitting. So reducing my carbon footprint, paying attention to the products that I'm buying, and how it's packaged is really important. The information we learned in this week's assignment indicated that virgin products take a much longer time to degrade than products made from recyclable material. So I'll be looking for that and paying attention to that a little bit more. It's so important to carpool when possible, bicycle when weather and time permits, and the use of public transportation as much as possible. So we'll be looking at that and promoting public transportation. While that's not necessarily what we can be doing right now, this is certainly a way to reduce the carbon footprint. The number one issue, again, as I had said, in my household is food consumption and likewise turning lights off. My family has not mastered that art of turning off the lights, which leads to energy waste. If my family would turn lights off, it would be surprising how much energy we would save and the difference that we would see. We certainly do have a lot of work to do regarding our water use, especially in the summer, so I gotta think about that a little bit more. But this is something I'm very sensitive to and alert regards to our water consumption and waste. The reflection and way ahead. So this is just answering the questions that we had. My biggest issue with our footprint is paying more attention to the items that create trash. So as to say that that's not the issue, but paying attention to the items that create trash. I need to be more alert to the packaging. The amount of trash that we create as a family can certainly be reduced. Additionally, I had never counted the number of light bulbs in the house and how often we use them and for how long. I was not shocked at my water usage, as I'm very alert and cognizant about that. I do hope that I can get better at that too come the summer. I'm pretty pleased and happy about my transportation usage right now, as we're still from home and school part-time. So my results were similar in order of least to greatest. I threw away no rubber or wood as it pertained to the average chart. I recycled all of our glass items. We recycle plastic. Food scraps and yard waste was spot on as it related to the chart. And paper is our number one waste item as well. I did not measure my items in tons, but looking at the chart that was provided, I am not too far off from the 2005 chart in how they reported their numbers. So throughout these ideas, to reduce the amount of trash we as a family have, we can recycle more. That's just a simple stated fact. We can definitely recycle more. To decrease our carbon footprint emissions, we can use public transportation or even rideshare programs. However, I will say the rideshare programs pose an interesting concept to me. We are concerned about carbon emissions on any given day or situation. However, the very concept of Uber and Lyft is to provide transportation for folks needing to get from point A to point B. The development of these two companies has created additional carbon emissions that did not exist before. Taxi service is not free from this scrutiny either. Hawkins 2020 says that according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, ride-hailing trips today result in an estimated 69% more climate pollution on average than the trips they displace. In cities, ride-hailing trips typically displace low-carbon trips such as public transportation, biking, or walking. And this is very concerning to me. So the next big idea that they announced is for the company to go to use electric cars. That is going to now, a lot of people rely on Uber and Lyft for their sole source of income. And so to demand that they go and have an electric car to do their job could be concerning. There's just a lot there that needs to be looked at. Uber and Lyft do not provide vehicles to their folks that drive. people are driving their very own. So what does that look like? They demand that they own electric cars versus the fossil fuel, the cars that are burning fossil fuels. It poses an interesting conversation that can certainly be debated on both sides of that perspective, but it does lend toward that carbon dioxide emissions. I look forward to creating a garden this summer full of fresh fruits and vegetables. This will reduce the amount of food that we need to purchase from the grocery stores, while we will still support our local farmers. I am going to put friendly reminders next to light switches to remind my children to turn the lights off, as we do have to get better at this. And the number of electronic devices that we have that we are not using, that are currently plugged in, are going to be unplugged. And then I'll continue to educate my children on the importance of water conservation. So my idea to reduce my carbon footprint was to recycle more. As a family, we reduced our trash by 3 30-gallon trash bags in a week, as we are recycling more. So that's really good. The love notes by the light switches are kind of working. My son, I woke up the other night and my son left the light switch on. So still not 100%, but hit and miss there. I need to rethink our energy problem and find what will work for my family. So our water reduction and recycling is certainly sustainable for me and my family up until our summer time frame, and then I have to relook at things. I do believe that I will be paying more attention to what I buy when it comes to do we really need it? What is it made of? Is it recyclable? Is it not? To help contribute toward the reduction of our carbon footprint. I'm bothered every time I go to my favorite hiking trail and see all the trash that's along the wayside. So I am going to be bringing a bag and picking up litter along the way to help kind of clean things up a little bit. The transportation issue is not just feasible at this time for me and my family. Carpooling with my husband was great. We tried it a couple of times, but our children go in different directions at different times in the evenings, and we both need to have transportation to get them from point A to point B with their athletics and after school activities. So I do believe being aware and cognizant as much as possible will make a difference, but just right now using public transportation isn't effective. So we'll look at that again here in the future while we make strides in other ways. So just kind of wrapping this all up, eliminating our carbon footprint is not realistic, but if everyone took just a small step to contribute to lessening their carbon footprint, it would make a difference in climate warming. Wheels for Wishes 2014 offers the following suggestions: eat less meat, recycle more, use reusable bags instead of plastic bags, start a composite pile, use CFL light bulbs, choose cloth over paper, cut down energy in your home, borrow instead of buying. I really like that concept. And reduce water waste. Education is the next biggest asset to make a difference in this world. The more people know, the more willing they will be to help support conservation. Planting a garden is important. Being aware of the harm certain products can do to the earth and working to reduce carbon emissions is an excellent start. We will never get it right if we do not at least try. So I just want to real quick say a couple of things. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me and learning everything that I have these last 8 weeks. You've given me a lot to think about. You've given me a lot of helpful tips and tools. Thank you for the discussions. They were really helpful. And then most of all, thank you also for helping me with the interview for my bio class. I am happy to report that I submitted my paper, and I could not have completed that without your interview. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I do hope you have a wonderful weekend and happy Easter. And thank you again for everything.